We're on a big sunny afternoon here in my backyard at Cajun Gold Body Shop, and I'm getting an interview here by Mr. Wilson Savoy. Wants to know a little bit about me, Mr. Paul Daigle. Well, I'm gonna fill you in. At present, I'm 46 years old and been playing the accordion since I'm 10. I was heavily influenced by my uncle Wilson Leger. Was better known by most people and family members by his nickname of Tet. This old guy played a real smooth rhythm and played a real full accordion. Wasn't real fancy, didn't do all these triplets and all kind of doodads whenever he played, but he just played a real solid accordion. And being a kid of 7, 8 years old and listening to him play, I was amazed at how much my mom and my dad and my older brothers were interested in the music. My old uncle Wilson Leger would come over to the house on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon and just visit, and somebody would bust out with the accordion, and he'd sit down and he'd play for 2, 3, 4 hours, not non-stop, one tune after the other. And like I said previously, I was amazed at how much mom and dad and my older brothers were interested in it. I mean, everybody, they just sit down and listen. I mean, not a word was spoken until after the songs were finished. And it was amazing to me to see how much my parents were interested in this music. And even after my old uncle would leave and he was gone, you know, it was the topic of conversation for the next 2 or 3 days how well my uncle played, and key numbers, how well he'd do in key numbers, and just fascinate my mom and dad. And there was an accordion in the house that one of my older brothers had gotten, and being a kid of 7, 8 years old, I wasn't allowed to touch it. And lo and behold, most kids, as usual, don't do what they're told, and I was, of course, no exception. And one day I found myself alone in the house with the accordion, and no one there to stop me from taking it out of the box and playing it. So hell, that's what I did. I took it out of the box and just started, I guess you could say, chanking a little bit, making some racket. And not a whole lot became of it that first time. And then every opportunity that I had, nobody was around and I could get away with it. I'd take it out and I'd play around with it. And before long, hell, Mary Had a Little Lamb started, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and maybe just a few other nursery rhyme type tunes. And Mom and Dad kind of crept up on me one day and just said, well, looks like as if we might have us an accordion player in the family. And I was, even though I know I sounded like hell, and I mean, Mom and Dad gave me the encouragement that I needed to continue playing. And I never stopped, and just kept playing and listening real close to the music of my old uncle. And sad to say, right about the time when I started playing when I was 10, he stopped playing and never touched it again for about 7 or 8 years. And the only thing that I had to go on was a tape recorder that one of the older brothers had taped. So that was my learning instrument. Just sit down by myself with the tape recorder. Fortunately, there was no other music in the background, no guitar, no fiddle, no drums, just solid, rock solid accordion music. And every morning before I'd leave to go to school, I'd come back from school on the weekends, I was listening to the tape recorder and practicing. And it just never stopped. And I had two complete 7-inch reels, reel-to-reel forward and backwards of music. And after I learned, got all of the songs learned, and pretty much mimicking the exact style, note for note, that my old uncle would play, I moved on to other things. You know, my dad not only listened to my uncle's music, but my dad was a firm believer in Ari Lejeune and, you know, Lawrence Walker. We had the albums at home, so I had access to them, so hell, I'd play those things too. So I learned quite a few Ari Lejeune numbers and Lawrence Walker. And then, you know, by that time, hell, I was 15, 16 years old and other interests going on. I never wanted to have my own band. So I really didn't do a whole lot of playing. You know, I had nowhere else to play other than at home. And for Mom and Dad, it would go sometimes a couple of months that I wouldn't play. And was very content with what I was doing. I mean, there was nobody there coming and say, can you play this, can you play that? Mom and Dad were pretty much content with what I could do. And that was pretty much the size of it until I was about 20. Till I was about 20 years old, then I was approached by Paul Daigle to do an album. And at that time in my life, I had so many irons in the fire between having a full-time job and 2 full-time jobs, really and truly. I declined the offer for the album by Mr. Vorman Daigle. And I think it was Reggie Mott that ended up doing it. Well, about 3 years passed and things kind of quieted down for me. And was approached again by Mr. Daigle for a second album. And this time here I had no excuse. And really and truly it didn't start off as an album, it was just a 45. He had this little weird concocted tune that he could barely whistle, much less hum, on a tape recorder. And that's what I got. Tune was Chatelaine, and the other tune, the waltz, was La Valse de Jonglement. So I put the music to those 2 tunes, or at least the accordion music to it, as best I could figure out what I could get from a very poor humming and whistling and a very poor singing from him. And was accompanied by Robert Elkins. So between what I could figure out and whatever Robert Elkins could figure out, we put the actual music to the humming and whistling, and we had a 45. So we got Mr. Dewey Bullfaw to play fiddle, and Robert Elkins did the singing, and Kelly Hebert did the bass work. And I think it was Carl Loye that did the drumming, was the drummer on the first 2 45s that we did. And that was the very beginnings of Paul Daigle and Robert Elkins and Cajun Gold. And really just never stopped. We went on to do 5 albums. And things got real crazy, real hectic for a musician that had no desire to to have his own band, for a guy that was very content, who had a repertoire of maybe about 25 two-steps and maybe about 25 waltzes. Barely had I knew I didn't have a complete repertoire to do a 4-hour dance job. I really got thrown into it. Robert Elkins lost his job, and we had just got through doing the 245s and an album. And I'm not lying when I say the album was fresh out, maybe by about 2 weeks, whenever he got laid off of his job. And I was approached by Robert Elkins. He said I could really use the money if we'd play 2 or 3 dance gigs, dance jobs a week, a month anyhow. That's how it started out. Quite a bit. Once the records hit, I was the newcomer, on the block. Belton Richard wasn't doing much at the time. Beausoleil wasn't doing much at the time. Jambalaya wasn't doing anything. There was really nothing happening in Cajun music when I came out with the first 245s and the first album. It's like as if the Cajun community was really ready and waiting for something new, something fresh. And I guess Paul Daigle and Robert Elkins hit it the most unique time in history that I could have asked for, because we stormed the Southwest Louisiana with the music. It was unbelievable. The phone would ring seemed like every other week there was somebody else calling to play somewhere. And it was pretty neat. And that went on for probably about 4 years. Then some of the other guys out there kind of caught wind of our success. The Jambalaya came out with a new album. Wayne Toops came out with his first album about maybe a year after I did. Cheryl Cormier came out with an album, and I guess about maybe 2.5 years after we were steadily rocking and rolling and really having a success out of this world, I started hearing about this this teenager from Eunice who sounded just like Mark Savoy, and played really dynamite accordion. And to my surprise, there was a young guy by the name of Steve Riley. And he went from being just a young teenage punk, I guess you could say, playing good accordion, to next thing I knew, hell, there was a band called Steve Riley and the Mamu Playboys. And these guys really played music the way I somewhat wished that I would have started out. Really old style of accordion, very intricate accordion playing, really nice music. And they went on to be and still are today, very, very successful. And nowadays, I'm still playing, not as much as I used to. Things have quieted down for Paul Daigle and Cajun Gold. Robert Elkins is no longer a full-time member of the group. I think he burned himself out. I'm very content with playing a couple of times, once a month, twice a month, and if it happens that I don't play at all, but once every 2 months, that's just fine and dandy too. I've played so many dances in the past from 1985 through 1990. I've got a feel of the playing 3 and 4 nights a week and practicing 2 nights a week. It consumed a big part of my life, and I really don't care to go back to that kind of life anymore. To 3 nights a week and 3 nights of dances a week and 2 nights of practice. It's guess it'd be pretty neat if I wouldn't have a full-time job, but it's somewhat hectic, to say the least. So I'm very happy the way things are now. I work all day in the shop, play 1 or 2 gigs a month with Cajun Gold, and I guess in all fairness, I have to mention the other guys, the other band that I play with, once or twice a month, every now and then. A band by the name of Savoir Faire, Dennis Boudreau, Walt Farr, and Mark Edmondson. Got together with these guys about 5 years ago, and when there was very, very little happening with Cajun Gold, at the time I was looking for a 1 gig a month with Cajun Gold, and it just wasn't happening. None of the clubs want to hire you but once a month. If they can't have you every weekend or every other weekend, they don't want to have you at all. And just kind of stayed in limbo there for a couple of years, trying to find a 1 gig or a month with Cajun Gold. We were doing our annual festivals that we had gotten back into with a Church Point Buggy Festival, Eunice Mardi Gras. But heck, I mean, it wasn't uncommon for us to go 3 months, 4 months without playing, and that really wasn't that healthy for a band that used to play 2 and 3 times every week. And so I figured not a whole lot happening for me at the time. I couldn't make anything happen once a month with Cajun Gold. Boudreau called me up. He needed an accordion player, and the way he described it, they weren't going to be playing but maybe once or twice a month. So I got into the Savoir Faire, and it seemed to be a pretty good working chemistry. I wasn't the actual leader of the group, although I helped with a lot of decision making with Boudreau, with Dennis. Most of the serious decisions were made between he and I kind of liked it that way. I think he liked it that way. He liked the idea that I had spearheaded, Cajun Gold for so many years. And we really had the best of both worlds. Two band leaders teaming up together to make another band. And we're still together. We're playing, we average once or twice a month, which is just fine and dandy with me, and seems to be for the rest of the guys of Savoir Faire. We average once or twice a month with Cajun Gold, which seems to be fine and dandy with Mark Lachelet, who replaced Robert Elkins, and Kelly Hebert, who's still the only, myself and Kelly Hebert, the only full-timers with Cajun Gold. Kelly Hebert still on bass, Mark Lachelet, as I said, rhythm and vocal. David Cormier is on drums, and none other than the legendary one and only Ken Smith on fiddle. And it's pretty much been the status quo for Cajun Gold since I'm gonna guess 1988, I think, with the exception of Robert. Robert bailed out in I think 1993, I think it was. Robert bailed out and hasn't been back in since.
Can you mention about what happened to Robert?
I kind of left this segment of the interview out. There was a period there from about the fall of 1990 through 91 and 92 that I really quit playing. things had gotten to be so hectic between playing every weekend and practicing every weekend. As I said, it pretty much consumed a large portion of my life and the rest of the musicians' lives. And it just got to the point to where it was literally destroying, the other facets of my life, of Paul Daigle. And I figured before things really got so out of whack and crazy, the best thing that I could do was shut the band down and just get back to where my values were and reorganize and rethink the way a normal human being is supposed to think. So I really shut the band down from about the fall of '90 through '91 and '92, and probably was the best thing that I could have done, because I was headed down a dead-end street back then, and now I somewhat appreciate what I can do so much more. Not having played for a couple of years, it's really makes you realize just how special you are and what you can do. But to getting back on Robert, I really wish Robert would have stopped like I did. When I stopped, everybody stopped with the exception of Robert. Ken Smith was doing a few gigs with Mark Savoy and with Jamie Burzow, but that was really about all that Ken Smith was doing, so he wasn't doing a whole lot. Kelly Bear stopped altogether. Let me see, David Cormier stopped altogether. Maybe I can back up. David did a little bit of tour work with D.L. Menard and Hadley Castile. So David stayed active somewhat, but not every weekend, like we had been. But Robert, on the other hand, Robert sort of like shifted into second gear. Robert went on to start playing with Nonkale Young and also with Joe Lorette, and went on to do 2 albums, I think, with Joe Lorette and Percy Boudreaux. And I think this is my own assessment, maybe I'm wrong, but I personally think Robert somewhat burned himself out, having had played so many dances with Cajun Gold, and from '84 up through '90, and then when I stopped, it's like as if he went on with a vengeance, and I think he did a lot of damage to his vocals, and when I can't contact by playing so much, even whenever I stopped. And when I was ready to start playing again, contacted all the musicians. I want to say around '93, fall of '93 maybe, and questioned everyone, do y'all want to play again? But don't get me wrong, so we're not gonna play crazy like we used to play. If one gig a month, do a Church Point Buggy Festival, Eunice Mardi Gras, nowhere is near to what the amount of dances that we used to do, and everybody was in agreement with that, even Robert. And so I geared up again and got all new equipment and got to playing again. And after about the second gig out there, Robert Elkins hung it up. He said, it's just not for me anymore. I did so many of them in the past. I don't feel what I used to feel when I sang, and this is it. You're gonna need to find yourself another singer. So that's what I did. I got Mr. Mark Lachule, and we're still at it. And I know you had asked me early on about why the accordion or why this instrument here. I guess a lot of things happen for a particular reason, and it was just, I guess I was destined to be an accordion player. I wish I would have had nearby friends, or wish I would have had someone else to play with, to maybe pick up on another instrument, maybe the fiddle or maybe the guitar. Hell, I was a country-ass boy by myself in the country with an accordion. And I mean, I had no fiddle, had no guitar, so I pretty much made this my instrument. And was very, very happy with, just playing the accordion for so many years. And I see now how much if I'd have learned to play the fiddle, or if I'd have maybe not made a great fiddle player, but I think if I'd have had lessons and it would have been tutored, I think the fiddle would have helped me understand my instrument so much more. Or maybe even the guitar would have helped me understand the chord structure, what goes behind, any particular song. But I had none of that. So, maybe it was a good thing, maybe it was a blessing in disguise, I don't know. That's why I play like I play today. I'm an accordion player. I wish I could play the fiddle, I wish I could play the guitar, but I can't.
Can you talk some about your rhythm? Like, you have a rhythm that no one else I've ever heard has. Can you talk some about
well, on a lot of these tunes that I play play with that same basic rhythm that my old uncle Wilson Leger played with, and it's quite unique. He's not the only one that played in that style. Sad to say, he's gone today, and I think old Octa Clark played a lot in that same, used that same basic rhythm to some degree. And Reggie's grandfather, Thomas Mott, uses that same type of rhythm. It's and I know of two other old accordion players that also use that same type of rhythm. So it had to have been a characteristic way of playing. I'm gonna guess altogether different from what Amadé played, altogether different from what Ira played, Andre Las Lejeune, Austin Peay. I mean, and sure as hell different from Belton Richard. Just a different kind of rhythm. It's different. That's all I can say. Wilson, I'm not a historian or a culture type guy. I play what I feel, and
you travel around and you've seen the world. So.
Yeah, I've did a little bit of traveling. I'm not a world traveler like a lot of people. I've been around. It is pretty neat, and it is special. What I've got here, and I guess I take it for granted too much, and that I don't. I appreciate what I have. It's not what I'm saying. But when I talk to people from away from here that want to learn, this music, this accordion music or the fiddle music, they say, you're so lucky. You're so lucky that you live there. You're so lucky that, that you are who you are and that you play the way that you play. And, I don't give it a second thought, because it's who I am. It's neat, to see other people looking into my way of life and the way that I was brought up. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't raised picking cotton and breaking corn like my dad and mom was. And I'm glad I wasn't, I picked cotton for one day, and that was about the size of my hands on to dragging a cotton sack in between the cotton rows one day, and I had my fill of it. So I can only imagine what my mom and dad and my grandparents went through in those days of farming, when everything was done by hand. It would have, I would have wanted to blow my head off. But I did do it, and was raised on a small farm. Drove tractors, combines, did a whole lot of shovel work in the fields, and I'm so very happy that I did all of that. But hell, I had all the modern conveniences, TV, radio. But it's still pretty neat to look back whenever I go to Augusta, or if I'm gigging in California. People just sit there and watch what I do, and they say, "Man, you're so lucky." And I guess I am lucky. I guess I am special to some degree. I thank God that I did pick up the accordion. I think my dad died 2 weeks ago, and it's amazing that I look back on how much encouragement that he gave me, even though when I knew that I didn't know that I stunk as an accordion player, but I look back now and I know as a young budding accordion player, it must have sounded awful, but yet he never said, that you need to go back in your room and practice. He never said, it sounds terrible. He always said, that sounds good. And it's amazing that my dad and mom could have been such big liars. But they gave me the encouragement that I needed, and I ran with it. Thank goodness I did. I wish when I would have been 13, because by the time I was 13 years old, I had already learned all of my uncle's music. And I had the idea that was good enough. Because from early on, when I was about 10, 11 years old, my biggest dream was to play like my uncle and to sound just like him on those recorded tapes. And by the time I was 13, 14 years old, I had already won an accordion contest, beating out what was supposed to be some of the top-notch best accordion players of the day, which were Ricky Beard and Wayne Toops, and just to name a few. I think there was 13 or 14 accordion players in there. But I came out of the sticks from nowhere, and I took first place, and that was a big encouragement, of course. And right after that contest was won, I think Dewey Bullfall had heard me play, and Dewey Bullfall had mentioned to Dick Spotswood, who was real heavy into the folk arts in Washington, D.C., and teamed me up with Mark Savoy and D.L. Menard and Dennis McGee and Sadie Corville. And I think all of us, it was the first time we had really ever hopped in an airplane and had all gone play music somewhere. So that was pretty neat. Hell, I wasn't but maybe 14 years old at the time, so you can imagine a 14-year-old kid that never been on a plane before, never had really went anywhere, to hop on a plane with Mark Savoy, D.L. Menard, Sadie Corville, Dennis McGee, and go to Vienna, Virginia, Wolf Trap Farm. I think that's where it was anyhow. It's a little bit too young to appreciate what was happening then. Now I look back and seeing how fantastic that trip was. It really was. So I've had my share of pretty neat things happen to me. It's been a good life so far. I just wish I'd have had somebody a buddy or an older musician to communicate with that could have showed me a lot of things, got me through some hard times, that I wouldn't have had to fight it so much like I did. I could have maybe moved quicker, and instead of capitalize on just my uncle's music, maybe I could have capitalized on maybe a lot of stuff that Lawrence Walker did, maybe a lot of stuff that Arlie Shern did. Even though I did learn those guys, a lot of the stuff that they did, I didn't really study it like I studied my uncle's music. And I wish there would have been somebody, an older accordion player, to help me along the way, or maybe even a fiddle player to say, look, Paul Daigle, yeah, you're a pretty good accordion player, but I can play this fiddle here, and maybe I can show you a few fiddle tunes. And who knows? Hell, Austin Pete was, I think, almost as good an accomplished fiddle player as he was an accordion player. Walter Mouton is not a half bad fiddle player. Also, Jason Fry is an excellent accordion player, an excellent fiddle player. So I wish somewhere along the way that I could have gotten a hold to a fiddle or maybe a guitar. I think it would have enhanced what I'm capable of, even more so what I do today.
You think it's too late now?
I don't think that it's too late now. To some degree, yes, it is. Now I just don't have the time anymore to devote to it. I spend so much time in the shop working, and I'm no different than any other middle class husband, I guess. My wife has been laid off of work now for a year. I got 2 kids in college. Got a business to run, so life goes on. The wheels keep on turning. I guess if I'd have enough money that I could only afford to spend 20 hours in the week and maybe 20 hours on fiddle lessons, would I do it? You're damn right I'd do it. You're damn right I would. I'd pick up the fiddle and try, because I have too many good friends that would lend me the time. I think beer buddies, sit down and drink a few beers and hell, show me a little piece of the Lacassine Special, or show me a little piece of J'étais au bal on the fiddle. But unless things change, Paul Daigle is going to stay an accordion player. Sad to say. I'll hang with most of the best. I'm happy where I'm at.